Well, you're welcome back, and it's time for AM Talk. Quite a few things for us to discuss. We're very honored to have with us Mr. Mohammed Abdulaziz, is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Myong constituency. Also with us, Mr. Andrew Ejapa Mercer, Honorable Member of Parliament for Sekondi constituency. And we've got a few things we want to get through, but first, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for making the time.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, over the weekend, quite a few things have popped up. We've seen the withdrawal of 3 lawsuits that were brought against the Kelni GVG arrangement with the government of Ghana. The 3 lawsuits were, so we say, attacking different aspects of the arrangement. They're being withdrawn, and some newspapers are even calling it a U-turn on the part of Imani that appears to be connected in some way to each of the suits. I want us to start there. Later we'll talk a bit more about NABCO and some of the issues and revelations we had over the weekend on Newsfile and beyond. And then we'll wrap up with the fuel prices, which appear to be in flux at the moment. But so to Kelni GVG, this this mysterious arrangement, and I call it mysterious because the contract has not been made public. We haven't seen the contract, and I want to start with you, Mr. Mercer.
Well, good morning to our cherished viewers, particularly those in my constituency, Sekondi. I left Sekondi yesterday around 7:30 p.m. Got to Accra almost 12 midnight, and I'm here. I need to attend the program that His Excellency the President is opening this morning, and then I'll head back for Sekondi today to go and finish some assignments that I have over there before I come back again on Wednesday to continue business here in Accra. So good morning to my...
For God and country, right?
Absolutely. We don't have a choice. Well, I have seen the Kelni GVG contract.
You lucky Ghanaian.
Because, and it's important that I make this declaration, because I acted for Suba as counsel when this matter broke initially. You know, you recall that Suba ultimately went to court. I only acted in part because did a petition on their behalf. In fact, my firm did a petition on their behalf to the Attorney General. And if you've seen some correspondence by Imani, you will see Mesa and Company in there somewhere. So to that extent, at the time that our clients were trying to get the GRA, and for that matter, government to, as it were, keep their contract still in place, I happen to have gotten hold of the Kelni GVG contract, you know, part of the deliberations that we had with the ministry. Of course, ultimately that matter a year has been resolved, because when it went to court, because of my peculiar role, I felt that it was improper for me, being a member of the governing party,
and a member of the communications committee of Parliament,
to also be associated with the prosecution of the case in court. So they engaged another lawyer another law firm to handle that aspect of the case. The monitoring itself, you know, I think it is something that government has to do, because contrary to the assertion that Suba was actually being paid for no work done, I had been associated with them for a very long time, and I knew that in fact they were doing some work that necessarily increased government revenue. Their intervention clearly led to an increase in government revenue at the time. So the monitoring was useful. Of course, they were doing only one aspect of the monitoring, which is the monitoring of the VAT and communication services tax. At the time, GVG was monitoring the international incoming traffic. Subsequently, a decision was taken to put together a common platform. GRA engaged Suba to do both, but I guess that the arrangement itself required the participation of both ministries, and so the Ministry of Communication then went ahead, did some procurement process, and engaged Kelni GVG to carry out the common monitoring platform of the services of the telcos.
What's your understanding of the reason why the Communications Ministry was not comfortable with SUBA doing the work?
Well, I'm not aware. Like I said, SUBA was engaged by Ghana Revenue to do the common platform,
which, as you say, they were doing.
Yes. Of course, the scope of works, as we understand, is completely different or enhanced from what it is that SUBA was doing. And so the ministry took a decision that maybe they didn't have the full complement of the capacity to roll out this program.
Is that your understanding of their reason?
No. Of course, I'm only speculating.
Right. So they haven't communicated their reason to the
it's been articulated quite clearly by both the minister and the deputy minister of communication as to the rationale for engaging somebody else to carry out the activity in that space, and I'm satisfied with the reasons that they have given. I do not immediately recall some of the things that they said, but safe to say that, of course, the scope of works clearly is enhanced. I believe that the cost savings that government was also getting relative to the SUBA contract was something that required some decision to be taken in that regard. So I would grant that, and to say that to the extent that I was aware of the operations of SUBA, I think that it's important that the telco space is continually monitored, just so that we can get the value as a country from there. Of course, some persons had issues, which they rightfully so went to court. And following the engagements that they've had with the ministry, as Mr. Franklin Kujo is on record to have said last Friday, they reached some common understanding because clearly if the issues that they had concerns over related to privacy and also the value for money that they were alleging, government and Kelni GVG as partners, because of the contract that has been executed between the two of them, were willing to engage and address those concerns that they had, so that government revenue cannot be impacted negatively. And that engagement has gone on. There's been some satisfactory resolution of aspects of the problem that related to the privacy issue, and they were satisfied. Of course, they claim that some aspect of the value for money audit had not been concluded, but the parties had reached an understanding that, well, let's proceed whilst we set up some independent body to do an evaluation and assessment of the cost. And I believe that to the extent that Kelni itself, which is a beneficiary of the contract, was part of the conversation, any recommendations that come from the review committee would be acceptable to them and, of course, to government if it indeed would bring some savings. We are happy to save the Ghanaian taxpayer some money, and that's where we are. And so, His Excellency the President...
Were you not able to save the taxpayer money from the very beginning?
But that's what I'm saying, that people have raised issues. And if you look at the SUBA contract relative to the Kelni GVG contract, there were clearly savings that government was making. People have raised issue that, well, you could still save some more money. And we have agreed with them to set up some independent body to do an assessment. If that leads to further savings, which possibly was not evident to the ministry at the time that the contract was being negotiated and executed, of course, it will be taken on board. Bear in mind that it is entirely possible also that that independent evaluation would confirm that the figures that are actually contained in the contract are what they ought to be on the market.
Permit me to challenge this idea of the Kelni GVG arrangement being a saving on the SUBA one. SUBA's contract was going to terminate in less than a year. At the time it was terminated. It was going to naturally come to an end in less than a year.
No.
Well, it was due for renewal.
Absolutely.
In less than a year. Thank you.
And
Thanks for the correction.
you see,
so my question is this: now that SUBA has taken government to court, and I'm told there is now a settlement of a few $100 million.
Well, I'm not
cities.
sure that that figure that is being bandied about itself is true.
All right.
I haven't seen the settlement, but I'm aware that the settlement did not include any amount. Okay, they were still going to engage on negotiating some return on investment that Suba was contractually entitled to. Because I was involved in the preparation of the contract, so I know what's in there. You understand?
What you're saying is that there is no amount.
Absolutely.
Has been awarded.
That's my understanding. There was the notice, the contract required that if for whatever reason government or either party was desirous of terminating the agreement, some 3-month notice was going to be issued. The notice period that was given Suba was not up to 3 months. And so, of course, you either give notice or pay 3 months in lieu. And so I believe that part of the settlement was for them to be paid the 3 months. And also some investment return that they were entitled to. That is what people are bandying 200 million. Of course, they had some arrears that the GRA also agreed to pay. And so that's contained in the settlement as well. But the discussion on some compensation, if you like, for the termination, as far as I know, my information tells me that that had not been concluded. So where people are getting the 200 million from and putting it in the public domain as if to say that is some agreement that has been reached between the parties, I frankly do not know where they're getting those figures from.
Depending on the cost of this settlement to government, if you then add that to the Kelni GVG contract, the issue of whether or not this is a saving becomes wide open again.
Well, we need to interrogate the figures to make a determination whether, because
so
I'm
raising this just so that we don't make it a conclusive statement here that Kelni GVG is a saving over Suba. But we don't yet know that.
You see, yes, we don't know that.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that so we can continue in that context.
You see, when you put it in that context, then I'm tempted to, as it were, challenge that assertion, because you don't know whether that in itself necessarily increases the cost as well, over and above the Suba one. So I think that we owe it a duty to our listeners to do that kind of background assessment before we put out, because
I think we agree.
Some of the vulnerabilities of our listeners clearly ought to be taken into consideration in these matters, because it creates a certain impression.
I think we agree on that.
Absolutely.
So we are not going to state that one contract is a saving on the other. We don't yet know.
Well, as I speak, the figures that are available to me point to a saving.
Please take the vulnerability of our listeners into consideration.
Not all of them. Some.
Okay.
It's
some
important.
of them.
Yes, of course.
Right. Well, Mr. Abdulaziz, this is a saga. It's gone on for a while. But ultimately, the thing that I think everybody agrees on is that there is a need for monitoring.
Yeah.
This is the government's solution to it. Why are we still battling over this?
Good morning to you. Good morning to our viewers, especially my constituents back in Myeong. Like you indicated, monitoring the activities of the telcos, and for that matter, any private sector person or company is important. And we are not against any attempt by this government to do a monitoring of the operations of the telecom. And so we are on the same page with government when it comes to the common monitoring platform that they have instituted to check the activities of the telecos. We are with them, but we have had some issues that we have put out to the public domain, and our concerns that we raise are still valid. We still think that there's no value for money in this transaction. We still think that some questions need to be answered. Of a real-time monitoring of the telcos, we are with them on the same page. I remember under President Mills somewhere in 2010, and my colleague referred to it. GVG was doing the international inbound traffic with Suba doing VAT and CST. I mean, I happen to have worked on a project with GVG in respect of the international inbound traffic. And what we did, what the government of President Mills did, where our now minority leader Harun Idrisu was the Minister for Communications, what we did was to engage GVG on a commission basis So, for instance, if you are doing a revenue assurance, we don't know how much you are bringing on board, and so you just don't go straight ahead to say you are entitled to 1.5 million US dollars every month. What if the person brings you less than 1.5 million US dollars? That becomes highly questionable. And so the arrangement under that project was that GVG was entitled to somewhere around 10 to 15% of whatever revenue that he brought on board. 60% of the revenue went into the consolidated fund. GIFEC and Ministry of Communications was also entitled to some percentage of the revenue that came from GVG. And if you check around, most of the CICs, the community information centers that were built around the country, were financed from the share of GIFEC and MOC. Yeah. I happen to have worked on that project. And so I don't know what would have motivated this current minister and the ministry to go ahead to say that, look, we are paying Kelni GVG an amount of 1.5 million US dollars every month, when we are not even assured of what they are going to bring on board at the end of every month. Now, when you do the simple calculation of 1.5 million US dollars at the exchange rate of 5 Ghana cedis to a dollar, that gives about 7.5 million Ghana cedis a month. You are aware that government has started making payments to Kelni GVG somewhere in January.
Yeah, 1.5 million a month.
A month. The Kelni GVG only connected their system, their network, to the billing system of the telcos only somewhere July and August. And so the question that arises is, for what work did you pay them an amount of 1.5 million US dollars from January up to somewhere June or July? I mean, we can't throw money away that way, and that are some of the questions that the ministry and the minister should answer. That we engage someone to connect his network to the billing system of the telcos to assure you of some revenue. The person has not done that yet, and yet we have gone ahead to pay the person that amount of 1.5 million US dollars. Yeah. Questions about privacy and data security were also raised. The fears of Imani and some other civil society groups were assuaged by the Ministry of Communications. Procurement process. They use restricted tendering process to procure the services of Kelni GVG. When even Kelni GVG, you can go and check their core business. If you go and check from the Research Journals Department, is in the area of construction and not in ICT. And so there are a lot of questions about it. Why would we even cancel the contract with Suba? And you are committing to pay them. In fact, the figure I picked yesterday, and I'm here to cross-check that, is about 600 million Ghana cedis. I've also heard of some 200 million Ghana cedis. We are here to know what's involved. But the bottom line is that the government has called for out-of-court settlement, and they are going to commit millions of Ghana cedis to pay to Suba Info Solutions. You ask yourself, what do you stand to gain from that? You cannot run the public purse in this manner, that we are paying. Let's even use the lowest of the two figures that we have heard so far, of 200 million Ghana cedis. You know what that can do for our country? You know the intervention that 200 million can do, even in the area of Free Senior High School.
But you know what it can do? Let's be fair, that figure has not been confirmed.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, that these are figures that we have picked from the media circles, and government has not been able to tell us emphatically that that is not true. I have just told you that I also picked...
Mr. Mercer, who has been involved in the...
He doesn't know how much government is paying to Suba Info Solutions, but he has indicated, he has admitted that there's a request by government for some out-of-court a settlement, and that some monetary commitments have been made. Whether it is 200 million, 600 million, 1 billion Ghana cedis or less, we are unable to tell. But I'm saying that what would motivate a government? Suba Info Solutions is a local company. What would motivate you to want to cancel their contract for no reason? Because he has just admitted that Suba Info Solutions were delivering. He was their counsel. He's admitted that they were delivering.
So there was a need for them to do more than what they were.
But you see,
I don't know why you always want to play this political mischief.
No, every contract has some specific deliverables. We must be asking ourselves, if they were actually delivering on what they were required to do. And he has just indicated on this platform that Suba Info Solutions were delivering. And so the idea of they could have done much better doesn't even arise.
No, it's not that. It's just that this new contract with Kelni GVG is to provide a common platform, and the terms of that arrangement the scope of works requires more than what Suba was contracted to do.
If you award contract A to Suba Info Solutions, and you think that you want to add services B, you either add it to Suba Info Solutions if they have the capacity and you are willing to engage them, or you engage another company to do the B. You don't cancel the contract A with Suba Info Solutions and give the entire thing to a new company called Kelni GVG, and you are going to pay some damages to Suba Info Solutions. It's a very reckless way of managing public funds. And look, why? Look, Suba Info Solutions is a local company. How on earth? Remember, just recently, we're dealing with the issue of StarTimes and KNet. I think that the government has every duty, especially that we are dealing with a government that says that they believe in the private sector as the engine of growth. They want to empower local entrepreneurs. You don't preach the private sector and empowering local entrepreneurs when indeed you are killing ingenious local businesses.
Allow me to ask Mr. Mensah a quick question about this idea of cancelling one contract to, award a new one with a larger scope of works. You indicated earlier that you don't quite recall all the reasons that were given by the ministry. But one thing that was obvious was that the ministry was seeking to cancel a contract.
Well, the ministry
and then award another one.
No,
but I want to ask,
the Ministry of Communication did not have any contract with Suba. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a Ghana Revenue Authority.
But actually, let me correct
No, I say this on authority. I'm aware.
No, it is GRA and NCA.
Because it
is GRA and NCA. NCA is an entity under the Communications Ministry. It's a matter of record.
Let me set this straight. There was a tripartite arrangement set up between the NCA, the GRA, and Suba. And the NCA, of course, is under the Ministry of Communications.
Check. I want to see that document.
Just a minute while I find you the detail of that. But I know this to be fact. And as a result of that, when Suba sued, NCA was a party, was they not?
Oh, yes, they were.
Yeah. So I don't think we can.
You don't need to insist on getting the story. 2nd
February 2015, GRA renews the subsisting contract with Suba, but NCA writes to the GRA explaining that the necessary legal regime is not in place, even though Suba has already commenced operations under the new dispensation. NCA provides a supplementary agreement to give legal effect to the engagement between Suba and NCA, thereby regularizing a tripartite arrangement between Suba, GRA, and NCA.
I'm telling you that I was involved in
this. Was in 2015.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact,
that's your statement.
That's why I'm telling you that.
Did NCA not write a supplementary agreement?
Listen, they made an input in the scope of works, okay, that captures the international incoming traffic, because that was the sole preserve of NCA. Okay, so the discussions that were held prior to the execution of the contract involved the NCA, and they submitted the scope of works that they thought should be included in the agreement. But the agreement was executed between GRA and Suba. Fact.
See,
okay.
The issue in contention here is not whether NCA was a party to it or not.
No, but you see,
the bottom line,
you put out a statement
that
the ministry cancelled a contract with Suba. And I'm trying to tell you, as a matter of fact, that the Ministry of Communication did not have any contract with Suba.
All right.
So them to have cancelled. Look, listen. I mean, look.
So this is easy to verify.
I'm telling you. You see,
this is easy to verify. We will.
But if you notice,
because we don't have a lot of time. If we don't have a lot of time, and there are some issues for us.
This is important. If you notice,
your forgiveness.
If you notice,
let us move to the next part of
the matter is that
I'll ask you for and we will verify that so that we don't have to.
Now you are taking from GRA to from ministry to government.
Right.
Yes, let's argue the issue.
Now, in a moment, we're moving on. We're moving on to
both government companies. They are both government entities.
Gentlemen, there is also the issue of the procurement irregularities that are being suggested by Imani. They talk about the other companies that bid, and the fact that these companies really have no capacity to bid, and yet the NCA informed, NCA or the Communications Ministry informed PPA that these are the only 4 companies that can do the work, and so restrictive tendering was approved. Meanwhile, these 4 companies, well, in fact...
So is it not interesting that the Imani that raised all these issues they themselves decided to discontinue their action?
It is interesting.
And we'll come back. No, that's what we can go into. But you people haven't answered the basic questions
to you both.
Of why you pay $1.5 million every month for no work being done.
I have
because true or false?
You see,
true or false?
The issue
that you have paid $1.5 million
every discussion
to Kelni GVG for no work being done. True or false?
You see, but of course, nobody anticipated an injunction. And if you have a contractual wait.
$7.5 million.
It's important. Wait. You have a contract that says that you have some obligations, okay, to provide a certain
services
space for your contractor to provide the services for which you are contracting him to. Now a third party brings an action that clearly impacts.
Mr. Mensah,
this is practical. Let's deal with it.
So okay. Mr. Mensah, in light of that injunction, why did government continue to pay 1.5 million every single month when the company hadn't even connected their nodes, let alone start work?
You see,
this is exactly what Suba did. And a few years ago, the NPP in opposition raised hell about it.
Let me tell you what Suba...
That's about 45 million Ghana cedis.
You see, Suba, in their initial contract, provided 2 solutions. One, to vet the historical record from the commencement of the communication service tax regime. And 2, to plug live notes to monitor from that very day going forward. The fees applicable to both were different. Now, at the time that they went to fix their notes, the telcos objected because there was no law.
Wait, you are explaining Suba. Explain Kelni.
But you asked for the Suba, and I'm explaining to you. And you said
your party raised hell over Suba at the time.
Yes.
There was an investigation into it. But today,
we are doing worse.
Kelni GVG is doing the same thing.
That's not true.
In fact, no. You see,
okay, look.
It's not
right. If we have time,
I have a report for you.
Educate you on these matters.
It's not even true that Kelni is doing the same. We have never paid money for no work being done. You have just said it here.
All right.
You have paid 45 million Ghana for no work being done.
100,000 graduates
protecting the public purse
under the Nation Builders Core program will remain at home a while longer, despite an elaborate graduation ceremony performed by the president last week. One recruit who spoke to JoyNews on Saturday complained that she didn't know where she was being posted to with just hours for her to start work. But the Secretariat explained the cumbersome nature of the posting has resulted in a decision to extend the posting date. Let's learn a bit more in this report and come back and discuss it.
Excitement was written all over the faces of the 100,000 NAPCO recruits 3 days ago when the president ushered them into the program on Wednesday. For many, it was a beginning of a new dawn, and they just could not wait to start work on Monday, October 22, 2018.
These graduates have been in the house for barely 10 years without working, and even those who are working are receiving less than that amount. So giving us 700 will boost our morale.
But it appears excitement is fading out as government has announced yet another postponement of the start of the program. One beneficiary, Esther Lamte, who spoke on Newsfile earlier this morning, said she's still unsure where she is being posted to, just hours for her to report to work.
Yes, we don't know which offices we are going to work. We are only placed under our district for now, but we've not been posted to any specific. Our postings have not come. We were assured that they would come. We can verify our postings at the Independence Square when we met on Wednesday, the 17th, where the personal ceremony was held. But nothing like that happened.
The start of the program was moved from August to October 1st and then to October 15th and now to November 1st, 2018. But NAPCO coordinator Dr. Ibrahim Anyas is blaming the delay on the rigorous process to identify where the services of recruits are most needed.
Currently, what we're doing is placing these NAPCO applicants within those institutions with the collaboration of the module implementation partners. And we have given an indicative date for every module partner to start receiving all the NAPCO applicants or NAPCO trainees in the institutions to start from the 1st of November. There is no ambiguity. If you chose a preferred district as application, what happens is that currently what we have is the selection. So we're going to revert you back to your district of choice once we start placement. So we'll be working within an institution.
Nancy Emefa Joydosi, Joy News.
Well, so there you go. Beautiful ceremony.
Absolutely.
But the practicality still has questions around it. And these questions, I'm afraid, even the secretariat that is tasked with the minutiae and the detail, some of the questions, their answers are not forthcoming.
How so?
Well, the simple question of, at what point will people start getting paid? Is it at the point that they are assigned to a job? Or will they start all getting paid from a particular date? Some of them for no work done because they will not yet have been assigned? Or is there a deadline by which everybody will be assigned, work will begin, and then payments will proceed?
But the assignment is not an event.
It's a continuum.
It's a process.
So everybody's payments will be from a different date.
Could you see, sometimes when we reduce some of these things to some level, it creates a problem. Okay. People have been engaged. They've gone through series of processes. Now they're supposed to start work. Initially, they were supposed to start on the 15th of October. And that has been postponed to 1st November. And the reasons for the postponement has been given. So unless, of course, you doubt the reasons that have been given, I don't see where really the issue is.
So everyone starts on the 1st of November?
That's the understanding that I have from the Secretariat. Okay, that we've encountered some hitches in verifying some placements, and so contrary to our initial intent of beginning on October 15, you guys will start work on the 1st of November.
So why the ceremony when you are not ready?
Because it had to be worked within the president's calendar.
Actually, let me ask a more basic question.
I mean, some of these things,
let me ask a more basic question.
Yes,
why was there a need for the president to preside over a ceremony?
This is a
Why don't you just send them to work?
This is a major government initiative that the naysayers had always indicated was never going to happen.
But if you send them to work, just let them go to work.
It was important.
Why bring them to march?
It was important for them to be put out for everybody to see that indeed what the president and the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo promised is actually being manifested.
But Mr. Mensah, do you see the irony?
You see, there's no irony. You
Forgive me.
Pretend as if you don't live in this country.
Let me ask the question. You see the irony of actually spending time and money for a ceremony to prove that the thing is happening at a time when the thing is not ready.
What is
so
not
the
ready?
ceremony, the ceremony
what
is
is not ready?
belying the truth.
What is not ready?
It's not ready. You have moved the thing to 1st of November because there have been problems with assigning them. So the thing is not ready, but you've done a ceremony to prove, you see, that it's happening. So the ceremony has turned out to be a lie.
Have the people not been engaged?
Where?
So what's the need for a ceremony?
The NAPCO trainees.
Where have they been engaged? Where?
They've been engaged.
Where?
They've been given letters that says that you guys have been engaged on NAPCO. You are supposed to be placed in the various modules that you yourself selected.
So the ceremony is to celebrate the letter.
No, wait. You see, you can put it any way that you want. I'm saying that in the rollout of this government program, the organizers found the need to outdoor the event for everybody to see that NAPCO is here. That event has taken place. For the many people who see the value and celebrated it as a huge achievement that goes to reduce by at least 100,000 our unemployed graduates, okay, have celebrated it. It behoves on the authorities who are tasked with the day-to-day implementation to now execute it. And that is what is being done. Okay? November 1st is only 8 days away. Yet you say it's not ready, and so it was improper for the president to have done an outdooring of the event. The president has a calendar, okay? And if it is scheduled that he does this event on a particular day, knowing very well that this program has received all the approvals that there is to be given, and that it is actually about to take off, I fail to see what the real, of course, what do you expect?
So the marching,
you see,
why?
Kojo, I do not have information as to the nature of the celebration, how it took place.
But we have visuals. We can show you visuals.
Listen to the point that I'm making. Yes. You say march. Why? I don't know why they decided that there should be a march.
Do you think it was necessary?
I don't have a problem with it.
Do you think it was necessary?
Why not?
Why was it necessary for them to come and march?
But I've indicated to you that we live in this country. Let's not pretend as ostriches. Let's not pretend.
So you wanted to come and claim funds? Why
not? Why not?
For using taxpayers' money to provide jobs.
For creating an opportunity for our young folks to get some work to do.
What happens to them after 3 years?
Well, there's an exit plan that is intended to get them into other sectors. This program would have prepared them with a requisite job experience that you and I go to look for jobs that they tell us that, well, it's not an entry-level role. You don't have the requisite experience, and so you cannot be engaged. We provide them with those kinds of skills, those kinds of value addition that goes into their CV and enables them to be placed in other sectors, including the public sector.
Let me ask about the success criteria. After 3 years, what percentage of these 100,000 do you expect to end up in continuing employment for you to say the program has been a success?
See, Kojo, there are several things that government is doing. Several interventions that is intended to grow the economy, private sector to create more jobs, to absorb people who come out of school. We have a problem that clearly when you leave school, because of the nature of the training that we get, you may not be fully prepared into going straight into jobs. But with an intervention like this, which gives you the skills that you need, clearly you'll be absorbed into many of the programs that are being rolled out. I expect that by the 3rd year, one district would have taken steam, several other programs under the government industrialization, 10-point industrialization plan, out of which one district, one factory is only one, okay, would have taken steam. The private sector would have grown to absorb many of these people. Of course, there's some public sector jobs that are also going to be created, assemblies that are getting many of these people, would hopefully by the 3rd year.
So 100% of them?
Possible. I don't have the figures to
benchmark. You have to answer the question.
You see,
benchmark target.
When I hear you guys speak, okay, yes, by all means, question.
You are wasting our money.
That's what we're trying to do.
No,
that's what I am trying to do.
Absolutely,
anyway.
but I don't expect any intervention from these my friends.
So help us. What's the target? What's the target?
Proceed.
What's the target?
Target. Kojo, you see, I cannot pretend to have the figures here with me, but I've clearly indicated to you that the expectation is that, look, listen.
But hasn't
we have a crisis.
NAPCO, the Labour Ministry communicated any target by which they can be measured in this initiative?
We have a huge problem on our hands as a nation.
Or what's the president's expectation?
But I've indicated to you that the expectation is that by the time that they exit after the third year, all the programs
100%.
that government is rolling out would have gained some traction to absorb many of these people.
So 100% is the president's expectation.
Of course, that would be the expectation.
Okay,
of any program of this nature.
We can assess the program by that 100% expectation. Mr. Abdulaziz.
I can see the struggle of my friend.
I'm not struggling
Bobo
at all
on this matter.
Not at all.
You
not
have
in the least.
struggled on the issue of Kelni GVG.
Not at all.
And you are struggling on the issue.
Well,
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. But I'd like to hear your view.
You see, this is not the way to address youth unemployment. When you campaign on the back of youth unemployment and you made the unemployed youth then to believe that they were jobless because President Mahama was either wicked or incompetent. You gave us a roadmap to creating jobs for the youth. You talked about 1G, 1F. You talked about doing dams to spur growth in agriculture, to guarantee jobs for the youth. These were the things that you promised in your manifesto. There was nothing like NAPCO in your manifesto.
But what is...
I'm making a point here. You assume power almost 2 years into office. You have not been able to do anything concrete that will make the economy grow, that will make sure that the private sector grows, to be able to absorb the teeming unemployment.
Haven't you heard them say it's not GDP figures that we chop? Haven't you heard them say so?
You said...
But of course, clearly the economy is growing.
I think you should allow him to make his point.
2 years into office, you are so confused about what to do, you suddenly go and create a vehicle you call NAPCO, claiming it's going to recruit some 100,000 young Ghanaians for 3 years and to prepare them for work after that. The question is, why do we even do national service after school? To acquaint graduates with some job skills, to prepare them for the job market. Now, when you say that when graduates go out to look for work, they are asked to provide some evidence of experience, and the only way you can cure that is not to enforce the law. The only way to cure that is to bring a 3-year scheme under NAPCO. That is very wrong and very irresponsible.
But 100,000 people who don't have anything today or didn't have anything yesterday. I will deal with the issues one after the other.
Okay. I will deal with the issues one after the other. Why? We were all in this country when the then President Akufo government established National Youth Employment Program, now called Youth Employment Agency. It came without a law, and so it was subjected to some abuse. It took President Mahama and Harun Idrisu at the Labour Ministry to prepare a bill to Parliament to give it a legal backing with a dedicated source of funding. Have we been able to do an analysis of the success of the youth employment program? Because remember, that one also had an exit plan. How much of the youth that were engaged in now Youth Employment Agency have been able to find jobs in a more sustainable manner? We cannot be throwing money down the drain like this. When you say you want to recruit people called under a project you call Heal Ghana, the nurses we have in this country, are they healing Nigerians or Ivorians? People go to nursing training colleges. They are trained to be employed as nurses. You refuse to employ them into the nursing ministry. How many did you
employ between 2014 and 2016? How many nurses did you employ?
Perhaps that was why there was a change.
How many nurses did you employ?
Perhaps that was why there was a change. People finish nursing training colleges. You are unable to post them. You say the public service is choked.
Even though more than 20,000 nurses in the past 2 years.
For your cronies. People finish teacher training colleges. We are unable to find jobs for them. Then you say you want to recruit them under a model called Teach Ghana. The teachers that we have prior to President Akufo-Addo, were they teaching and are they still teaching Ivorians of Burkina Faso? They are teaching Ghanaians.
Is it the
Now,
that you have a problem
no,
with?
my worry. I just want to refer to, this is the mid-year review budget that your minister, Mr. Akufo-Addo, presented. Our minister. Thanks for the correction. Paragraph 177. And with your indulgence, let me just read that paragraph. Mr. Speaker, the next half of the year, the program would hold orientations and begin placement for all successful applicants in August this year, as well as hold a placement conference with all module implementation partners. All NEPCO trainees will undergo module-specific training once placed within their modules for the first 4 weeks and will be paid their first allowance of 700 Ghana cedis by the close of August 2018. So even on arrival, the program is challenged because your own minister, the Minister for Finance, came to Parliament and indicated that they were going to receive their first allowance by the end of August. We're in October. October is almost ended. You have not even posted them.
That's for delays.
You have not even posted them. You see, when you delay them and you are unable to pay them because the project is delayed, but you are able to pay money to Kelni GVG for delaying an implementation of a project. You see the irony there? Where they have the interest that because there's a delay in Kelni GVG doing what they are required to do, they have no problem paying them 7.5 million Ghana cedis a month, but they have every problem paying an innocent young graduate an amount of 700 Ghana cedis because the project has delayed. Now my worry is, why don't you use youth employment? If you are so committed to this project, if you want to offer jobs to some 100,000 people under this program, what prevents you from using the structures, the personnel of the Youth Employment Agency to deliver these services? We are talking about engaging 100,000 people, paying them an amount of 700 Ghana cedis. Let me just give you a very good example. If I'm a trained nurse and I am recruited under the NEPCO and I am paid an amount of 700 Ghana cedis, my colleague who finished last 3-4 years and gave me hope that if I went to nursing training college and finished, I was going to be recruited by the state and be paid an amount of 1,500 Ghana cedis. How do you think they will feel? Are we living in a collapsed state? You see, it is worrying.
But can you argue that this is infinitely better than nothing? These people were at home. That was the reality. And they've been at home since when your government was in power.
I agree with you.
So
no, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Kick against something that gives them something.
No, it says that when you get on NAPCO, you are perpetually obliged to be there for 3 years.
I just ask a question. That why don't you run that project under the established Youth Employment Agency that has a law backing it? You want to create another vehicle without a policy document, without any law, that would also be abused, just like youth employment was abused sometime in the past. That we cannot do as
address this issue of the absence of a law, because it is coming up very constantly.
Even a policy document.
There's nothing.
To guide this.
It's like somebody's brainwave
exactly
that has automatically turned into a
And the president was seen thanking the vice president for this so-called NAPCO.
That's where the idea came from.
That is worrying.
So why not do it the right way? Why not?
And what is the right way?
To give it a legal
The right way, according to the NDC, is to have a law.
Okay, so what is the right way according to you? To do it without a law? This is the same thing that other social interventions have fallen victim to in the past.
You see,
why would you do the same?
Kojo, I don't know whether we have to pass legislation to back every policy initiative. I don't know.
We are committing 840 million Ghana cedis a year on this project.
This is not contained in the budget.
Oh, that's why you need a law or even a policy document to guide it.
Unbelievable.
There's nothing you guys have policy on.
So
right from senior high school to planning for food and jobs to NEPCO, not even a
So
policy.
what is Mr. Mahama going to review when he claims that when given the second chance, he is going to review when you say there's no policy document?
Deal with the issues. Do you have a policy document? Are you aware?
So what is he going to review?
Are you aware of a policy document?
I don't understand. Is that why?
Because there is a policy document. That is why he is going to review. If there was no policy, what are you going to review?
We'll review
through
a policy document and law.
Kodo,
but leave President Mahama alone and deal with NAPCO. Leave President Mahama and deal with NAPCO.
I would deal with it.
We are wasting our public resources.
Ask the questions.
We are wasting our
You sat in Parliament.
Deal with NAPCO.
You sat in Parliament
deal with
and
NAPCO.
approved this budget. So if it's a waste of our resources, ask the questions.
Tell me where in the
bring
budget.
an action
tell me where.
against the minister.
Tell me where in the budget.
Don't come and sit.
Oh, tell me where in the budget you brought.
You read it here.
It's a media review.
Media review is not a budget.
Let me even tell you.
Look,
initially what they were trying to do was to use common fund of the assemblies, 300 million Ghana cedis from common fund to be able to fund NEPCO. It took our committee, local government and rural development, to bring the minister to parliament and ask him why we had approved a formula.
Such falsehood
for common fund
doesn't help anybody.
Oh, is it true
we sat in parliament and approved the district assembly's common fund,
and NEPCO was not part of it?
Absolutely. So why are you sitting here and speculating?
But is it true or not? Is it true or not that you did a letter directing the assembly to commit 300 million
as we speak
to NEPCO?
been able to produce the letter.
Funding.
So it's false.
You don't even know the source of funding.
Okay, so it's false.
The letter was everywhere.
And we asked them, did you see a copy of the letter?
It was
hear from you that
it was everywhere.
Look,
why did the minister come to parliament?
Falsehood.
Why did the minister come to
Because
parliament?
you see,
all right.
Why did the minister come to parliament?
You've put the question, they've denied it.
To do what?
You've put the question, they've denied it.
You withdrew.
Next step is for verification.
Doesn't
no
help
policy,
the discourse.
No funding source.
I'm told that something is happening now that we need to pay attention to. Forgive me. Something is happening now we need to pay attention to. Students of KNUST are demonstrating this morning to boycott lectures in protest of what they say is oppression by university authorities. 11 students affiliated to the Katanga Hall were on Friday arrested by the Tech police station for their involvement in violent acts. My colleague Kwesi Deborah is standing by on the phone to tell us the very latest, but you can currently see some visuals of the disturbance that occurred on the campus. Kwesi, if you can hear me, tell me what exactly is going down this morning.
Yes, as you rightly said, students are protesting. They are protesting against alleged brutalities meted out to them by school authorities. As you remember, if you can remember, on the Friday, 11 students were arrested. 11 students affiliated to the Katanga Hall of the university were arrested for perpetuating what they call violent acts. So today, they are blocking all roads, main roads. They are preventing the instructors from taking the students to the various faculties and departments. So that's what they are doing now. They are marching. They are marching en masse, going to various halls, and now they are heading towards Aibia. So that's where most of the hostels are, and try to prevent the students from going to lectures. But I can see many students also going to lectures. Many of them I spoke with said that they are obeying what the university issued yesterday. The university issued a statement yesterday that those who won't go to lectures will do that at their own risk, and they are afraid of that. So they are going for lectures, but most of them, the students, the bulk of them are boys, and also some alumni of the Katanga Hall and also Unity Hall. They've joined the march and going to the various halls to prevent students from going for lectures.
Now, what have we learned about the inciting incident? You know, the violence against some students. We've seen some images of bleeding wounds of some of the students who claim that they were brutalized by campus security. What have we learned about that particular incident? Did the university sanction campus security to mete out any sort of violence?
Yes, we tried speaking with the university authorities, that's specifically the URO, on the incident, and they are saying that it's as a result of the fracas that resulted in those brutalities, and that they had to prevent the issue from escalating. That's the violence from escalating. So those were measures that they put in place to ensure that things calm down. But and they are trying to tell me that it wasn't born out of malice at all, but they had to prevent issues and make sure that university authority, school rules and everything, regulations, go on smoothly. So that's what they told me. And I visited one of the students who were beaten, allegedly beaten, and that's one staff audio. And he's a third-year land economy student. And he told me that he was beaten by what he calls, if you call them a body, that's the macho men. They are kind of the Buffalo section of the KNUST security. And he said that they beat him. And of course, I went to the university authority and they said yes, it was as a result of the disturbance. And they think maybe Mr. Flower was thrown somewhere and it hit the guy. So they are denying the claim that it was the university security who hit the guy. And now the guy has been released and he's now home. So that's what's happened. They are denying, but the guys are still insisting that the university authorities, and particularly the university security, are really harassing them.
So have the university authorities explained why, in the face of violence from the students, they didn't call the police? What is the legal basis for instructing campus security to engage violently with students, rather than calling the police to come and deal with them?
And if you can remember, when the first-year students reported, that's talking about the freshers, we had, and that was in the heat of the conversion of the mixed soils into the conversion of the civil sectors into mixed ones. And at that moment, there was so much tension on campus, and that's where they brought in the security, that's the police and also the military, to make sure that the affiliates of Katanga and also Unity Hall don't cause mayhem. And so those times they were here, and there were a series of vans here, that's security vans and patrol vehicles all around campus. But now I can't see them; they are not around. So I'm thinking that's why they had to deploy those guys. That's the security, the macho security to prevent the situation from escalating. But now I can't see any security. I can't see any police or military presence. They aren't any.
Now, I've got to ask this because of the issues of the integrating the halls and making them male and female and so forth. Are there many females participating in this demonstration today?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. No females. All the females I'm seeing around are all going for lectures. No females today. I saw some of them also in their various stores, and I asked them why they are there, aren't they joining? And they told me that they don't have lectures right now. That's in the morning. They have theirs in the afternoon. That's why they are there at their various stores. Now that I can see there's no female around, and now right now I've seen the police patrol vehicle also around that, the Operation Calm Life. So there are police present now. I can see them around. They come now.
Right, very well. Now, those who say that they are demonstrating and will prevent their colleagues from attending lectures, how are they doing this prevention? What are they doing to prevent them? Are they using violence?
Initially, what they did was to block the roads. So most of the major roads leading to the Power 40 area are blocked. But now I saw some of the lecturers putting those blockages away.
But they say they are marching now. They are marching to the halls to prevent their colleagues from going for lectures.
Yes,
how are they going to prevent them in the halls?
That's the second action they are taking now. So when they reach, for instance, when they reach a student, they tell him, why are you going for lectures? Don't you know that we issued a statement that nobody is supposed to go for lectures? Everybody is supposed to boycott lectures today. So that's what they tell them. But they don't really actually, it's a bit of a mild intimidation, trying to tell them that they should not go for lectures. So those are the two things, blocking the roads, and also trying to tell them that they've already issued a statement that they are not supposed to go for lectures, and they are supposed to stay in their various stores and also their various hostels and not go for lectures. So those are the two things that they are doing now. Any sign of these macho security men today? No, I've not seen them around. And actually, I think I've only cited one. I've only cited one. That was last week. But today I've never seen them. I didn't see them around. It's only the normal security guys who are around. Right. And also the police patrol. They are around now. Okay, Kwesi, we'll stay in touch. We'll keep getting updates on this evolving story. And that's Kwesi Deborah from Love FM. I don't know whether you want to spend a minute each on this before we...
It's unfortunate how this incident is playing out. I mean, we're all in the universities, you know, place a ban on Shein Jama, if you like. I mean, to what end? You know, these things are usually done within the confines of the halls. I was in Commonwealth Hall, and you know, it was usual to find us Friday evening after lectures at the observatory, you know, entertaining ourselves. You know, doesn't degenerate into any violence. Of course, I know of the issue that the young men have with the conversion of Katanga Hall into a mixed hall. And so I really do not know whether by Shein Jama, you know, what necessarily leading into some discomfiture for the females who had been sent to the hall. You know, hence the ban on it. I think it's unwarranted. I mean, the university authorities should. Universities are not secondary schools, you know.
It appears more and more.
I'm sure the university authorities and the leadership of the students would engage to find a lasting solution to that matter. It threatens some level of security on campus.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to deal with the more bread and butter issues that we're dealing with. Have you cited the report of the Center for Socioeconomic Studies, their 2017 report, where they indicated that about 1 million Ghanaians have lost their jobs, right from the industry, mining, the media, and the banking sector. They have indicated that 2017 alone, about 1 million Ghanaians have lost their jobs.
This was 100,000 is a step in the right direction to correct that, isn't
within a year, if just within a year, under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo, 1 million Ghanaians.
Why don't you ask him to show us the figures?
Earning decent income. I've referred you to a report.
Show us the figures. Those your NDC propagandist civil society organization that you put out. What are you talking about?
Their jobs. A job that guaranteed decent income.
I have not cited this report.
Sustain.
We haven't independently verified it.
You gloat over artificial jobs
I must say that
do not pay competitive rates for just 3 years.
You sat in government for 8 years and didn't do anything to alleviate the challenges that these graduate students were facing.
A former bank worker walked into my office and wanted me to intervene for him to get a job at fire service. Of course, I don't have that capacity, but that's what we go through as politicians. I know a very serious media person who is now struggling to do some trade in poppies. This is what you have subjected decent Ghanaians to. And you want us to clap for you? We should gloat over these artificial jobs that you say you are creating, even without a dedicated source of funding to pay them. I can tell you that 1st November.
I don't know what your fixation with dedicated source of funding is all about. You remember they used to say that when President Akufo left the government, left government
from communication service tax. So you tie a source of revenue to it. That is not the case in this matter.
Oh,
I can tell you today is 22nd. 1st November is just a week away. I can tell you that come 1st November, they are going to struggle to find another excuse because you have not even gotten calls from the private sector. You don't even know what you are about.
Okay.
1st November will be here. And you'll be exposed again.
A quick clarification. So will this be a sort of a rolling project? Next year, will we have NABCO beneficiaries of another 100,000?
I believe so. That
speak authoritatively. You can't speak to the matter that is
so every year, of course. Every 100,000 every year.
It's not a fixed 3 years scheme.
Million questions I want to ask about that, but
after 3 years.
But I think that clearly proves that you need a sustainable source of income for this, because what you have dedicated so far is only for this batch.
Every income that comes to the state is well known. So you can say that, well, X amount goes to youth employment. Or that if the X amount comes into the coffers and you have to pay salaries of youth employment workers,
do you know where it will come from already?
From the budgetary sources.
Absolutely.
But
it's the same thing you said about pre-SHS.
He doesn't understand.
You said about pre-SHS.
He doesn't understand.
Anyway, let's move. Let's move on.
You have no source of
let's
funding.
Move on. Today,
no source of funding.
Today, for the first time in the past 2 years, I got to the filling station, and I couldn't fill my tank. The money I had budgeted for my fuel was insufficient to fill the tank because prices have gone up again. Look, let's not do the politics with it. Let's get a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Let's get a bit more
nationalistic.
Yes. Let's think about how this is affecting the country, all of us, because it's not just one party that has to buy fuel. And I want to start from you on this occasion. Government's hand in the fixing of prices is not as present as it was in your time. So are we fair when we place this around the neck of government?
That is not entirely true. Government still has some level of influence and control in terms of pricing of fuel. The automatic adjustment formula that we brought in under President Mills, I guess, was to ensure that at least on regular basis, with an established formula, we'll be able to tell how much fuel should go for. Two variables would affect fuel prices: the exchange rate and the world price of crude. These are the two variables. Government, yes, of course, has no control or influence over the world price of crude. But government has every responsibility to manage the economy in such a way that would ensure the stability of the city. That would automatically translate into lower prices of fuel.
Being a part of a government that also struggled to control the city.
And when we
can you tell us what some of the difficulties might be?
And when we struggle, Ghanaians were told that we were being incompetent and that there were some better managers of the economy waiting to come into power.
Absolutely.
They have come into power. The city is depreciating far more than it was
doing. It's not depreciation by 32% under your watch.
Take it easy.
It is not.
You have your 10. It is depreciating much faster.
No,
faster.
Is that not
true?
Is that true?
It's not true.
Before we left office,
the city may have a lower value than when you were in power, but is it depreciating faster?
Yes.
That's
the dollar was around 4 cities before
falsehood.
We left office.
Was 4.2. Please, don't change the figures.
Today, as we speak, it's
depreciated by about 8%. You were doing 32.
You have your 10.
32%.
Respect our viewers.
Please.
Respect our viewers. You have your 10. Today,
you have to wrap up.
The dollar is
you didn't interject when I was speaking.
We have not been able to manage the economy to ensure a stable currency that you promised you would do. And also taxes. About 50% of the price that we pay at the pumps is about taxes and levies.
Same taxes that you
exactly. And so we're made to understand they will
regime.
move the economy from taxation to production, and that they were going to do away with taxes. What prevents them from doing what they pledge to do? By scrapping all the taxes that we have on fair prices.
Can you imagine?
Is that a realistic?
Can you imagine? Something that you pledge
such
today
who
pledged to do what you pledged?
What you're saying?
To move the economy.
We mentioned some nuisance taxes that, of course,
today under your watch, a gallon of petrol is going for almost 25 Ghana cedis. We left it around 16 Ghana cedis.
All right.
In less than 2 years, a gallon of fuel is going for 25 Ghana cedis. And when you complain about fuel prices, when you complain about exchange rate, when you complain about hardships, if you complain about the collapse of the banking sector and the job losses, the only answer they give to you is free senior high school.
All right, Mr. Mensah, I have a specific question.
Is that how you run the country?
So
obviously this country is being run better than you ever dreamt to do.
Permit me to ask a specific question.
Yeah, please.
So there is no doubt that the value of the cedi is playing a role in the increase in the price of fuel. And when we put questions to your government about the value of the cedi, you blamed external forces. You said that the dollar has become stronger. It's affected emerging markets, including our own. And you made it quite clear that this was out of your hands. So is that the answer that we have to give to the people of Ghana today regarding the increase in the price of cedi, that there's nothing you can do about it?
No, it's not entirely out of our hands, but it's not entirely within our control.
Forces,
no, it's important. External forces contributes to the depreciation of the cedi, of course. And the data that is available for all who care to read clearly points to a stronger US dollar that is not impacting only Ghana, but several other emerging markets that the figures were put out.
And the President was it the same case under President Mahama?
You see, Kojo,
please, we have less than a minute to go.
He would quickly turn and say, I should respect listeners.
We're heckling.
Please.
Okay?
Please.
You would say that I should respect listeners.
You did
but of course, we know you guys. Yeah, that's the mode within which you are casting. Look,
time is almost up.
The price of fuel, like he indicated, is influenced by several factors. And government taxation, okay, is also part of the mix of how much we pay ultimately at the pumps. That is why when this government came, excise duty on petroleum was scrapped. such that today the average price of fuel globally is 7.76 Ghana cedi per liter. We are paying 5.21.
What was the average price globally under President
You tell us.
Okay.
Tell us.
Okay.
Under President
Give us the figures.
He was incompetent.
Okay.
Of course, we're incompetent.
Global average prices.
And
All
we
right.
sit here
All right, gentlemen.
You think
blame
Ghanaians are that gullible?
Gentlemen.
You think Ghanaians are that
collapse
gullible?
of banks on
Ghanaians are
this
watching you.
government.
Mr.
Because
Minister.
you're incompetent, your failure
All right.
to regulate
Okay. We have to bring things.
that is what
We have
led
to bring things
to
to an
the
end at
consolidation
this
and
point.
saving of people's deposits.
We've been hearing from Mr.
Akufo-Addo
Mohammed
right the last person, but you
Abdul
guys are being
MP
reckless.
from Mion constituency, and Mr. Andrew Japamesa, Honourable Member of Parliament for.
He went to the propaganda classes this weekend.
By the way,
When they come back on
I
Monday.
asked you about the value of the cedi, but you answered to him on taxation rather.
No, but of course I
Anyway,
responded.
They don't
I
get it.
responded.
They don't
I
get it.
Thank you both.
to
Thank you
the
both.
They
issue.
will not read. When they
Appreciate your
read,
time.